President Oaks' family growing up didn't really fit the mold. By the world's logic, that should make him resent the proclamation. So why doesn't he? Let's take a look at this clip from last conference.
My father died when I was 7 years old. So my younger brother and sister and I were raised by a widowed mother. We were raised in a happy home in which our deceased father was always a reality.
Listen, when you don't have something, you want it even more. You want it more. My parents, they were divorced when I was 6. It was kind of challenging. I mean, it was really hard to have that relationship. As I look back, I see that and I realize that.
I was able to sit down with Stephen Jones of Scripture Central's Let's Get Real with Stephen Jones podcast to get his perspective on this topic. With the background that he has, I wanted to see how he views the proclamation and the ideals that it presents. That brings up a sort of tension when it comes to the Family Proclamation, because obviously there are people for whom the ideal is not available in this life.
I know what you're asking me, but I'm going to tell you this. We take Christ out of that too much. He's what makes the ideal possible in any scenario. And so yes, the ideal is challenging for people, right? It's important to talk about the ideal, just like it's important to talk about Christ, because it is the standard. The ideal is so important. It's so necessary. On top of that, it's important for us to understand that those who do not come in, like me, who didn't have the ideal scenario, he helped me fill the gaps, and he did.
It's no secret that the principles in the Family Proclamation are becoming a lot less popular. Marriage is less valued, children aren't the priority that they once were, and some of that cultural fog sometimes seeps into the church.
Marriages and birth rates of our church members are much more positive, but they have also declined significantly.
We see families that are dividing over this, doctrine getting muddied, standards softening. For some, this document feels outdated or maybe even oppressive, a standard that hurts more than it helps. It can feel unrealistic or painful or unfair to those who don't seem to fit the picture. Did you ever look at your friends' families and see a mom and a dad and feel a certain way because you had something different?
So Logan Anderson, I was always at his house. He had a mom and a dad that was there. And I thought that was cool, man. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. So I don't know if I ever had a time where I was like, man, I wish I had a dad like that. But I wish my dad was there, right? I mean, I wish I was with my dad more, I think.
It can sometimes feel kinder to lower the bar than to live under one that we can't reach. But does lowering the bar really heal hearts, or does it just keep fewer people from reaching higher?
You can see the transition in my genealogy. My dad did not even know his dad until he was 17 years old. And then you can see my dad doing everything that he could to make sure that he broke that cycle. And he did the best that he could. And here I am doing the same. I didn't get married till I was 28, man. I was scared to death to be married. My wife and I have been married for 13 years now. I was like, man, my parents, they got divorced after they were married for 11 years when they had 5 kids, and now I have 5 kids, and it's been 11 years. And then I realized that I have complete control over my family. And as a kid, you don't have control. But as an adult now, I'm like, I have complete control of what my family will be like. I can't control my children of the choices that they will eventually make, but I'll do everything that I can to teach my children the commandments.
So how do we respond when true principles feel out of reach? I think that there are a couple things that we could do. First, I think that we should continue to hold the standard high. We shouldn't lower God's bar, because that is the very thing that lifts us higher. Sometimes when we refer to the Family Proclamation or the doctrine on the family, our minds immediately go to the more controversial aspects of the document, those being the lines on marriage and gender. And don't get me wrong, those are absolutely essential pieces of the puzzle, but I think we should remember that they are just one piece. Sometimes we can get lost in the lesser controversies surrounding those issues, and then we lose sight of the larger doctrinal puzzle. When we hyperfixate on one or two aspects of the gospel stops being the good news and instead takes the form of a harsh critic. Second, I think we should hold people close. We should hold compassion for everyone, including ourselves, who fall short. We should try to seek understanding for those who really struggle to embrace the principles in here and have honest conversations and look for opportunities to share testimony. And then finally, I think we can live the standard joyfully. We can model what it looks like to live the principles with humility and love. Even in the messiness and imperfections of life, we can hopefully shine as a beacon to others. And we won't get it completely right, but maybe someone will see our good works and glorify their Father in heaven by doing it even better than we did. President Oaks's childhood didn't fit the mold perfectly, but he clearly has a very strong testimony of the principles that are in this document. Instead of letting loss make him resent the ideal, he made it refine his testimony of it. Maybe seeing what was missing helped him to value what is divine. So I don't think that the Family Proclamation is oppressive, but it is technically restrictive. It's restrictive in the sort of way that a lane on the highway might be restrictive. It sets the conditions under which we can be safe. Ignoring the lanes on a highway would technically make us more free, at least maybe in the short term, but the eventual catastrophe that would come from that choice would obviously make us a lot less free in the end.
When I look at the ceiling, when I look at what that really means, it's not just me and my wife. It's like we're trying to seal our whole family back. I mean, we're opening up the door for more connections in our family to be connected to Christ through generations. And so I hold to that dearly. I take it very seriously. Jesus Christ is the ideal. He's the ideal. And when he shows up, what's the first thing that he shows them? He shows them the wounds. But I think that it really just shows his redemption power. He's like, yeah, this was the worst thing. The same hands that he healed all those kids and he healed all of those people. And that is the foundation of the family. When you get sealed, you're not getting sealed just to your spouse. Jesus Christ is in the covenant with you. The ideal is not just, I'm coming home with my briefcase today and my wife is, we're creating a kingdom, man.
This last part is going to sound like a made-up story just to drive the point home, but I promise this is how it happened. So I have this old improvement era book. We inherited it from my wife's grandpa who passed away. Up until now, it has been just sitting here on my bookshelf as decoration. In preparing for this video a few days ago, I randomly decided to open to this page right here. And the title intrigued me, but I didn't have time to read it right then, so I snapped a picture so I could read it later. And this morning I finally got a chance to go back to it, and I couldn't believe how relevant it was to the topic of this video. The article is called Tribute to Mother, written by a missionary boy, 19 years old, now on a foreign mission. Let me quote it here. During my absence from home, the only thing that gives me the greatest joy of all is that I have a testimony of the truth of the gospel. But as I rejoice in this thought, there comes to me another, which is one that makes my heart swell with gratitude for the noble parents God has given me. This new thought is born of the teachings which I received from a kind and loving mother, and the worthy example set me by an honorable and God-fearing father. It is not every son who can point with pride to the virtue, honesty, and untarnished character of his parents. I love that testimony. And it reminds me of the line in the Family Proclamation that I personally think is the most bold. The line is, children are entitled to birth within bonds of matrimony and to be reared by a father and a mother who honor marital vows with complete fidelity. I just think that word entitled is such a strong choice of language. Even though that is such a high standard and obviously doesn't exist for all families, in God's eyes, children are entitled to both a mother and a father. That obviously doesn't mean if you don't come from that ideal family situation, you are somehow lesser. But thinking about ideals and how we can uphold them, I think it's important to recognize how serious this is to God.
One of the greatest superpowers of all time is the ability to choose. It's agency. If you don't grow up in an ideal world, now, the coolest part about that is you can now choose. Maybe you did choose and you're now in a circumstance where it's not ideal. We can still choose. to turn to Christ.
Dispensing with the standards can seem easier than striving for them, but what do we lose when we stop reaching? I don't think God's standards are barriers, they're invitations, and they're how he makes us more like him. President Oaks' grandfather stepped in to fill the gap when a father was missing. The Family Proclamation invites us to do that same sort of thing, to stand in the gaps and to lift where something's broken. Because God's standards don't expose our gaps, they help us to fill them in. My name is Sky, and this is Faithful Anyway.